Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nimikung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chapter 3, Section 3 of the picture of Dorian Gray.
Ass.
Ah.
The picture of Dorian Gray. Oscar Wilde. Chapter 3, Section 3. We're talking about poor Dartmoor. Lord Henry, cried the Duchess, nodding pleasantly to him across the table. I believe she has made up her mind to propose to him. How dreadful, exclaimed Lady Agatha. Really? I am told. An excellent authority. That her father keeps an American dry goods store, said Sir Thomas Burden, looking supercilious. My uncle has already suggested pork packing, dry goods. So what are American dry goods? Asked that. Duchess, raising her large hands in wonder and accentuating the verb. American novels, answered. Lord Henry helping himself to some quail. The Duchess looked puzzled. Don't mind him. My dear, whispered Lady Agatha. When America was discovered, said the radical memorand. He began to give some worrisome facts, like all people who try to exhaust a subject. He exhausted his listeners. The Duchess sighed and exercised her privilege of interruption. I wish to goodness it never had been discovered at all, she exclaimed. Really, our girls have no chance nowadays. Perhaps after all, America never has been discovered, said Mr. Erskine. Oh, but I have seen specimens of the inhabitants, answered the Duchess vaguely. I must confess that most of them are extremely pretty, and they dress well too. They get all their dresses in Paris. They say that when good Americans die, they go to Paris, chuckled Sir Thomas, who had a large wardrobe of humorous cast-off clothes. Really? And where do bad Americans go to when they die? Inquired the Duchess. They go to America, murmured Lord Henry. Sir Thomas frowned. I am afraid that your nephew is prejudiced against that great country, he said to Lady Agatha. I have travelled all over it in cars provided by the directors who, in such matters, are extremely civil. But must we really see Chicago in order to be educated? Asked Mr. Erskine plaintively. Sir Thomas waved his hand. Mr. Erskine of Treaty has the world on his shelves. We practical men like to see things, not to read about them. The Americans are an extremely interesting people. They are absolutely reasonable. I think that is their distinguishing characteristic. Yes, Mr. Erskine, an absolutely reasonable people. How dreadful, cried Lord Henry. I can stand before us, but brute reason is quite unbearable. There is something unfair about its use. I do not understand. You, said Sir Thomas, growing rather red. I do, Lord Henry, murmured Mr. Erskine with a smile. Paradoxes are all very well in their way, rejoined the Baronet. Was that a paradox? Asked Mr. Erskine. I did not think so. Perhaps it was. Well, the way of paradoxes is the way of truth. To test reality, we must see it on the tightrope. When the verities become acrobats, dear me, said Lady Agatha, how you men argue. I am sure I never can make out what you are talking about. But, Harry, I am quite vexed with you. Why do you try to persuade our nice Mr. Dorian Gray to give up the East End? I assure you he would be quite invaluable. I want him to play to me, cried Lord Henry, smiling, and he looked down the table and caught a bright answering glance. But they are so unhappy in Whitechapel, continued Lady Agatha. I can sympathise with everything except suffering, said Lord Henry, shrugging his shoulders. I cannot sympathise with that. It is too ugly, too horrible too. Distressing. There is something terribly morbid in the modern sympathy with pain. 1. Should sympathise with the colour, the beauty, the joy of life. That less said about light source, still the instant is a very important problem, remarked Sir Thomas with a grave shake of the head. Quite so, answered the Ward. It is the problem of slavery. The politician looked at him keenly. What change do you propose then? He asked. Lord Henry laughed. I don't desire to change anything in England except the weather, he answered. I'm quite content with philosophic contemplation, but as the 19th century has gone bankrupt through an expenditure of sympathy, I would suggest that we should appeal to science to put us straight. The advantage of the emotions is that they lead us astray, but we have such grave responsibilities, ventured my spindler timidly. Terribly grave, echoed Lady Agatha. Lord Henry looked over at Mr. Erskine. Humanity takes itself too seriously. It is the world's original sin. If the caving had none had laughed, you're really very comforting, warbled the Duchess. I have always felt rather guilty when I came to see your dear aunt, for I take no interest at all in the East End. A blush is very becoming, Duchess, remarked Lord Henry. Only when one is young, she answered. An old woman like myself blushes. It's a very bad sign. Ah. Lord Henry, he thought for a moment. Can you remember any great or that you committed in your early days, Duchess? He asked, looking at her across the table. A great many, I fear, she cried. Then commit them over again, he said gravely. To get back one's youth, a delightful theory, she exclaimed. A dangerous theory, came from Sir Thomas's tight lips. Lady Agatha shook her head, but could not help being amused. Mr. Erskine listened. Yes, he continued, that is one of the great secrets of life. Nowadays, most people die of a sort of creeping common sense. They'll laugh round the table. To be continued.